This is a true story that took place in a rural Korean village in the 20th century. Hit like and subscribe to follow the Grandma series as each chilling chapter unfolds in real time. Now, let's begin the story. It was late spring, maybe April. In the mountain village we had moved to, the air was still cold, the soil barely thawed. We'd been living with my grandparents for about 2 years. I was 5 years old. That day remains vivid in my memory, not because of anything ordinary, but because something truly strange happened. Something beyond reason. Everyone was busy, my grandparents in the fields, my mom juggling chores and my baby sibling. I had followed them out but wandered back home quietly. As always, I ended up at Sangju Grandma's place. She handed me yakwa and roasted rice cakes, sweetened by the warm scent of firewood. I didn't know it then, but those snacks might have come from the rituals she often did. We were having a late dinner when we heard someone in the yard. It was Sangju Grandma, but her face something was off. She looked shaken. Even I could tell something wasn't right. My grandmother stopped eating, stepped outside and spoke with her in hushed whispers. Then she burst back inside, pale as a ghost. We all froze. Without a word, my grandmother ran to the phone. Her hands trembled as she dialed. The room was so silent, we could hear each ring echo. When someone finally picked up, she asked, "Is Jin's father home?" It was my aunt on the line, my uncle's wife. Moments later, my grandmother dropped the phone and collapsed. Sangju Grandmother had fallen asleep and had a dream. In it, she saw someone, his body covered in blood, arms broken, face mangled. She stepped closer and realized, it was Jin, my uncle. Around him, dark spirits danced gleefully, like they were welcoming him. She tried to pull him away, but he wouldn't move. The spirits sneered, "He's ours now." Sangju Grandma jolted awake. She knew it wasn't just a dream. Breathless, she ran to our house in the dark, told my grandmother what she'd seen. In a panic, my grandmother picked up the phone, her hands shaking. She called my uncle's house in the city. "Is Jin's father home yet?" she asked. Then she went silent, and suddenly dropped the phone, collapsing to her knees, whispering, "What are we going to do? What are we going to do?" Phones didn't reach our remote village, but Grandma had a pager number. Over and over, she tried to send a message to Uncle Jin. My mother took over, her fingers flying across the buttons, typing emergency codes like 8282 and 1818 into the pager. For hours, nothing came back. Then finally, the phone rang. When Uncle Jin finally called back, my grandmother didn't let him speak. "You're not coming home tonight, you hear me? Don't even think about it." She wasn't just scared, she was furious. She swore she'd disown him if he came back. That call, though long and desperate, might have saved his life. Only after the call, my grandmother finally let Sangju Grandma into the house. With a trembling voice, she revealed the dream. A blood-soaked Jin surrounded by spirits, their mocking voices. "Don't bother, old lady, he's ours now." She had seen the village's mountain road in the background. That's when she knew he couldn't come home. That night, a thunderous noise echoed through the village. The next morning, the only road into town was found completely blocked by a massive boulder that had tumbled down during the night. Right behind that roadblock was my uncle's car. Had he come back just a little earlier, he would have been crushed. After that night, my uncle never forgot. Every year on Sangju Grandma's death anniversary, he visits her grave with offerings, just like he does for his own parents. He even kept her favorite cigarettes in the freezer for decades, saying, "As long as I live, I'll honor her. She saved me." So, how was the story about my uncle? Next time, we go deeper into something that involves bones. Hit like, subscribe, and stay close for the next part of the Grandma series. It happened when I was 8. That spring, I finally started school. I remember it clearly. It was the year my brilliant freedom came to an end. It had been a few months since school started. At first, my mom walked me there a few times, but after that, I was handed off to an older boy in the village. It took me another 1 or 2 years before I could walk to school alone. Since first graders got out early, we'd go home together. There were 3 of us, me, a boy, and a girl. We always stuck together on our way back to the village. We usually had lunch after school. My mom would have food ready, but more often than not, I threw my bag down at home and headed to my grandmother next door. The side dishes alone were on another level at her house. She always greeted me like her own pup, and soon the table would be full. She'd smile, sit beside me and pile food on my rice, mostly meat, pork, beef, and sometimes home-raised chicken. That day after a great meal I played in the yard. But something felt off. My grandmother wasn't smiling. She sat on the porch sighing, lost in thought. She'd been like that for days, but I hadn't noticed until now. She stood up slowly, slid on her white rubber shoes, and sighed. I brought this on myself. What can I do? A life is a life. She glanced at me. I'm heading out. Be good, and go home soon. Then she walked away without another word. I stood there, unsure. But something told me to follow her. She moved fast, way ahead of me. No one in the village could keep up with her pace, not even grown men. I ran after her, but by the time I reached the spot where I last saw her, she was gone. Then, from somewhere inside a nearby house, I heard shouting, familiar voices arguing. The yelling came from the house of an older couple and their unmarried son. They were one of the wealthiest families in the village. I ran home and told my mother and grandmother. Sangju Grandma is fighting again. My grandmother sighed. Oh Lord, again. Where this time? My grandmother said, Aigu, I can't live like this. Where are they fighting again now? I told her about the house I just came from. Right now, the old lady there is fighting in their yard. My mother looked shocked and turned to my grandmother, saying, Mom, has Grandma from Sangju finally gone senile? That house is already in panic because the eldest son is so sick he's on the verge of dying, and she goes and does this now. My grandmother also said, exactly, and the two of them hurriedly slipped on their shoes and ran out. I shouted, Mom, I'm coming too, but when I saw my little sibling alone, I said, grab my hand and come with me, and I followed after them. When we got to the yard of that house, some village elders were already there, watching the scene and whispering to each other. My mom and grandma each grabbed one of Sangju Grandma's arms and said, Homie, what are you doing? Trying to stop her. In front of her, the other house's grandmother was fuming with rage, pointing fingers and yelling, If you're going to go crazy, do it gracefully. We're already going through hell. Why the hell are you causing more chaos in our yard? Sangju Grandma shouted, Bring your son out. He's coughing up blood, isn't he? If you don't do something, he'll be dead in days. The other grandma scoffed, What nonsense are you spitting out? What do you even know? But Sangju Grandma didn't flinch. You went to the hospital, right? What did they say? That they don't know what's wrong, huh? He's not sick, he's cursed, haunted. Everyone fell silent. The other grandma's voice trembled. What are you saying, Sangju? Grandma took a deep breath. Something's latched onto your boy. It won't let go, and if you want to save him, we have to act now. Sangju Grandma continued, He must have messed with something, maybe disturbed a grave. Ask him, something's clinging to him. Angry, the other grandma turned to her husband. Go get him, bring our son out. The old man rushed inside and brought out their eldest son, barely able to stand. He looked like a ghost, skin pale and sunken, eyes dull. People gasped. Some turned away. Sangju Grandma stepped forward. Look at him. Is that a man who's alive? He's already halfway gone. If you want to save him, you do exactly what I say. The Sangju Grandma turned to the boy's parents. Get me a bowl of clean water, some white rice, and his used clothes. Hurry. They scrambled to gather the items. She knelt on the yard's dirt, her hands trembling slightly. Villagers circled around quietly. One whispered, Is she really a Dang? Another replied, She saved someone before. As the ritual setup began, Sangju Grandma turned to the sick man. She looked him straight in the eyes. You know what you did. Tell them. The man hesitated, lips trembling. I didn't mean to. I didn't know it was a grave. People murmured. He broke down, kneeling. I thought it was just old junk buried under the field. I tossed the bones in the woods. I didn't know. Sangju Grandma's face darkened. Then you'll go pick them back up, every piece, with your own hands. She handed him a white cloth. No one helps. You brought this on yourself. The villagers followed him into the woods. There, unbelievably, the bones lay in the exact same position as before. He screamed and dropped to his knees. He began collecting them, sobbing. That evening, Sangju Grandma set up an altar. Candles, rice wine, food offerings, and incense. She drew talismans with trembling hands, murmuring prayers. The villagers gathered around in silence. Then, as she began chanting, a wind blew through the yard, cold and unnatural. The sick man fainted. Sangju Grandma didn't stop. She screamed, commanding the spirit to leave. The flame flickered wildly, then went out. When the flame died, so did the wind. Silence. Then the man stirred, slowly opening his eyes. His breath was calm, his color returning. Sangju Grandma wiped sweat from her brow. It's done. He'll live. The villagers bowed their heads, some in tears. That night, no one spoke much, but we all knew. Something real had happened. After that night, my uncle never forgot what happened. Every holiday he brought gifts, not just for my grandparents, but for Sangju Grandma too. Fruits, meats, and the same cigarettes she used to smoke, now long discontinued. He kept them frozen for her rituals. Even after she passed, he visited her grave every year. "She saved my life," he'd say, lighting incense. "She wasn't just a neighbor, she was something else." That was the end of episode 3. Are you starting to wonder who the Sangju grandmother really was? Hit like and subscribe. The deeper we go, the darker her legacy becomes.